Can you find a real estate platform that aligns everyone in the entire company financially by making us real estate agents owners, so when the average agent wins, everyone wins? That's the secret to success. And when you surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurial people who absolutely love what they do, they love serving people, they love God and life, and you put yourself in an environment of high energy, high producing, positive people every day, you can't help but succeed in business and in life. We are changing the real estate industry and changing real estate agents' lives. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever Podcast. Hello, everyone. Thanks for jumping on the Financial Freedom Forever Podcast. Boy, I'm excited to introduce my business partner from Mississauga, Ontario, Hassan Shokil. How you doing, Hassan?
I'm doing great, Andre. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for jumping on our podcast today. Hey, for people that don't know Hassan, he's a rock star agent in Mississauga, has a great business. We're gonna have him give you a little bit of his real estate background right now. But I know he was Platinum Award winner, Young Star Award winner, Diamond Award winner, and a Blue Diamond Award winner from his last real estate companies that he was at. But now, of course, he's partnered up with us at EXP, and he's been really doing a great job selling a lot of properties and helping the company grow. So welcome again, Hassan, and let's just jump right in and give us a little bit of background. Tell people a little bit of your real estate story so they know a little bit more about you, and they can hopefully jump in and ask questions. So anyone has any questions, just put them in the chat box, and we'll ask them so you can build your business like he has. But go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I actually started my background in international hotel management, so customer service and so on. And then I ended up actually, I'm from Vancouver originally, and had the opportunity to come out here and work with one of the largest builders, Pinnacle International. So I was their sales manager for a few of their sites, and just ended up doing really well with them, and took a couple projects here in Mississauga and Toronto, and started in the pre-construction side before I even had my license. And yeah, now I've been working on my own now for the past 5 years. I've been a licensed real estate agent. I was working with a previous brokerage, and then just continued using my database from the previous projects and so on, and ended up making the switch to EXP in December, and it's been amazing. So far, so good.
So you've only been with us at EXP since December, so like about 7 months. Yep. And that's phenomenal. How has your business changed or grown since making the change?
Oh, it's been great. I've been learning a lot, especially from you, and from a lot of the coaching and the classes that we have. I've been really taking advantage of the university, the EXP University. I think that was something I was lacking at my other brokerage. There wasn't really any support. You were always kind of on your own or just waiting. And especially with COVID, everybody was, not really going to the office as much, but to have, classes at your fingertips, I thought that was really cool. And that was a really big thing for me. And just having, really good mentors, having yourself, and my main sponsor was Rafat Matwali. He's
Right.
amazing. And, he's definitely he's like a father figure for me, he's done phenomenally well with his previous past in his industry. And it's just been good. It's been a good change. I've slowly now grown my team. So now I have a team of 3 agents.
Awesome. Congratulations.
That's been good. And with just having the resources and just the speed of the team, the EXP, the Sky Slope and the back end, they're just on top of everything. They'll make sure our paperwork's good, and that that's one thing that we're all guilty of in paperwork. But they're phenomenal. I love the way that they're always on top of us, emailing us, and I think it's really nice to have that support system. So it's good.
Awesome. So been in real estate or had your license for the last 5 years. Were you with just one company or several companies in the past?
Yeah, no, it was just the one. So I did a lot of work with the managing broker from the previous office that I was with, and they were doing a lot of pre-construction, and he knew me from the sales center, and he said, Hassan, if you ever, once you get licensed, why don't you come and join us? And I just, it was more like, I like working with my friends and people that so I ended up signing up with them, and it was great. Nothing, I needed a change. I felt like I needed to grow in my business, and having the coaching and everything that was offered through EXP, and especially the revenue share options, and just the whole mentality of finally, like, I got $80 last week for a revenue share, and I was like, I've never made money in my brokerage before, so this is cool. So I was like, yeah,
it's just good leverage, being able to earn extra income just doing what you're already doing, selling houses and helping the company grow. But
so I'm just, it's good. Like, I've just been busy doing that, and then, sorry, I'm on a call. Yeah. Sorry guys. And yeah, it's been great. It's great to have that, and it's really nice to kind of just have those extra resources, and that's been a big thing, especially because real estate is ever changing, and to have an extra source of income has been good.
And how great is it? Like you said, Rafat Matwatli, he's your sponsor. He's the one who shared the opportunity with you. You just said he's like a father figure for you. I know he's been in real estate for at least 20 some years. I know most of that he was with Remax. I know when I shared the opportunity with him, and he did the math, I think, don't quote me in the numbers, but it was about $125,000 that he saved his first year, because he didn't have the franchise fees, the big commissions, splits. He didn't have to pay for coaching anymore, and on. So, a great agent and mentor for you. But hey, somebody could have told you, hey, come to Remax or come to whatever company you're at before. But because you don't have financial alignment, they'll help you a little bit for sure. But what difference is it for you with having someone like Rafat with all the years experience basically being your mentor, at absolutely no cost because of the way our model works?
You know what? It's priceless. He's such a wealth of knowledge, and he definitely is someone that I can always rely on, especially being fairly new, but I do have a good background because I was in the pre-construction working with a developer for the past 8 years before real estate. So I was always in real estate, but it just, having him, learning from him being with Remax, and having friends working with other big brokerages, it just made a big difference to see where his knowledge comes from, and to be able to kind of learn from that. It was huge. It was definitely a big thing to have, and and meeting yourself, like, that was really big too. It's always been great. I love the fact that you're super quick. As soon as I have a question, I'm like, hey, Hassan, I'm right there for you. So that's been amazing. And you helped me grow my business, and getting an assistant. That was really huge. That helped me a lot, especially because I have 2 small kids, so my girls, and that takes up a lot of time. And being able to spend time with them and balance work and my family, and it's been definitely a breath of fresh air joining EXP. So,
well, that's great to hear. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool when we're all business partners together. You told me you were trying to expand your team. You're getting really busy and needed an assistant, and we were able to connect you up with Juliet, VA, that we have trained and had up and running already for you, and you're able to get her plugged in, and now you're able to spend a little bit more time with your family instead of up at night trying to do all the administrative stuff. Right? That's a game changer when you can leverage other people, and let them do the $10, $20 an hour work when you're doing, the hundreds or thousands of dollar hour work, selling, all the homes and the pre-construction properties, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no. And Juliet's been amazing. She's phenomenal, and she's helped me a lot. And, I'm happy to hopefully keep her busy, and, everything's been really good. So, no, I really appreciate everything that's been set up so far.
That's awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about. I know one of your slogans, is better to buy Soona rather than later.
Yeah.
Now, where does that come from? Is that like your middle name, or where does that come
Yeah.
from?
So in Arabic, like my nickname, my name is Hassan, but in I'm from Egypt actually. My background's Egyptian, and my nickname was always Hasuna. So we always have nicknames. So my
Okay.
friends started shortening it, and they just called me Soona.
Okay.
And then back in university, my friend, he introduced me to his friend, like his girlfriend's mom, and she was like, she's so cute. She was like, he's like, oh, this is my friend Soona, and she's like, oh, like Soona better than later, and I was just like, oh, that's it.
That's it.
I'm like, if I ever get into real estate or sales, I'm like, that's it. And so now everybody asks me, they're like, hey, should I buy now or sell later? I'm like, well, Soona's better than later, like
That's right.
especially.
I love it.
So it worked out well, and everyone's been loving it, and it's a good brand now. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, hey, Soona, like Mississauga's pretty big, but now anyone here, they're like, oh, have you met Soona? They're like, most people are pretty well connected, and it's good. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, I want to shout out to Russell, who joined us on Facebook, and Becky, Elizabeth. Shout out to Robert and Velvet. So thanks for jumping on. If you have any questions for Hassan or Soona, please put them in the chat box, and make sure you save this on Facebook or share it with your friends, so we can get the word out of how things are growing and what we're doing and how we're changing agents' lives and families' lives because of this business model. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market and the market shift and renting versus buying right now. I know there's interest rates are rising and markets changing. Man, this last 12 months has been a little bit crazy. What are you doing to help your buyers and sellers, and what advice are you giving them?
The biggest shift right now I'm seeing is the rental market's been increasingly demanding, and it's very competitive. Here in Ontario, we're allowed to help with rentals. I know in BC,
Right.
where I was from, realtors weren't doing rentals. Here, it's very competitive, especially now because of the interest rates going up. Sellers are selling, but no one's buying as much. Everyone's kind of waiting and sitting back, and especially now where they're projecting another 2% potentially in the next few months. So there's quite a bit of demand now, I'm finding, for the rental side, and it's very competitive. Like now, a 2-bedroom in Mississauga's downtown core goes for about $3,000 a month, and that's average. So $3,000 a month is very, very generous when you consider the amount for a 2-bedroom, but it is what it is now, and I think most people are kind of just sitting back. So I've shifted the team mentality, and my mentality is that every opportunity is an opportunity for tomorrow. Where you don't know where your money comes from. God plans for you in different ways, and whatever's written for you is written for you, and you got to plug in those seeds, and never look at a lead as a wasted opportunity. That those rentals today will buy tomorrow.
Right.
They'll become sellers eventually, and it's just the cycle. So it's just there is a shift going on, and we just got to adapt to it. This is it. This is business. This is life, and we push through adversity, and we get through everything, and that's kind of how the market is right now. And I've just been kind of realizing, like, sellers, if they don't need to sell, I've kind of told them, listen, just kind of wait a bit. If buyers are looking, it's a great opportunity for buyers, I find, because the sellers that are selling are willing to take a little bit less, to secure a little bit of their equity and potentially move on to something else. So I think we kind of just have to educate our sellers or our buyers to become a little bit more aggressive, have your pre-approvals ready, get your inspections done, and, trust your agents that you work with, and we can really get some really good deals going right now. So.
Yeah, that's great. The market sure has changed. Just wasn't very many months ago when you had 20, 30 offers on a property and people putting offers 100,000 plus cash over asking price. That just goes to show you the market's how it is. It goes up and it goes down. And as far as real estate agents, like you just said, you got to adapt and know how to give great advice to your buyers and sellers so you can represent them in their best interest. That's what we do, right? It's a big opportunity for us. As the market changes, the agents that maybe aren't so strong, or they don't have the education, or they don't have the training or the help that they can reach out to other people in their business partners. they may be going out of business, right? So what I want to share, let me ask you, are you looking for agents to grow your team? And are you open to having people call you at the phone number that we have listed on the screen there
Absolutely.
to talk to you?
Actually, just to give everybody a little bit of background, because in this kind of market that we're going through, some people are going to either like sink or swim. And, we're the biggest thing is your network. And right now I do a lot of charity events. I actually have a soccer league that I run, which we have about 267 players. Wow. And just through sponsoring and, being in the community, we generate a lot of leads, like my team. So, if anyone's looking or you're feeling like you're kind of heading into a little bit of a slump, definitely reach out. I would love to, share the business. I have a saying with my team: whatever God has written for you financially is already written for you. Nobody looks in your pocket. We don't, like whatever comes to you is written for you, whether you work, you got to just put in the effort and we'll help you as much as we can. And that's kind of the thing is that we, in real estate, everyone's kind of like, oh, if I help someone, maybe I'm not going to make that deal. They're going to make it. It's like, nah, whatever's written for that person's coming to them. So just, don't be greedy. We're happy to help. This is the mentality that me and the team we're pushing. And, I get calls all the time for rentals, potential buying, selling. And, if anyone is kind of feeling like a little bit of a lull in their business, please reach out. We'd love to grow our team and we can, definitely have a lot of leads to share for sure. So.
All right. That's great. That's great. And that's what's cool with our network. There's always people looking to grow, and we normally have more business than we can even handle. Depending if it could be rentals, it could be pre-construction. I mean, it just depends on what's going on in the market, but there's the strong will survive. And I know you're going to do well because I think I read somewhere that since you came over, since you got into the pre-construction business and more into the real estate before your, what you were doing before, you've sold over $500 million worth of real estate, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because these projects are 400 to 500 units average, and we were doing about 9-10 deals a month easily. Wow. No problem as a team of two. And I just from different projects ranging from anywhere from 400,000 up to $2 million units. So it definitely getting that exposure and that volume was huge because you definitely get to learn how the business works in different sides. Pre-construction's it's a different animal. It's definitely a different way of an approach on how to know your product. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can always take the values from everything. You got to know your product.
Right.
When you know your product in and out, the clients feel comfortable. And that's the biggest thing that, I always try to portray is that like you need to know what you're doing and you need to know what you're talking about, because sales is a transference of belief, right? So
that's right.
If I believe it and I'm in a positive mindset, that client's going to love what I'm giving them. If I'm like, this house isn't that nice, they're going to say the same thing. It's a mirroring image. So
that's right.
So that's kind of the big thing is, always stay positive and learn from your mentors and, anybody that you have around you, and, always keep learning. That's the biggest thing. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. I believe everyone needs a coach, and no matter what level that you're at, there's always another level. I also believe that when you hang around other like-minded real estate professionals that are maybe doing 5-10 times more than me and you put together, they all pull us up, exactly. Right? And that's the kind of collaboration and experience that we have within our group. So it's pretty cool. Now you mentioned, pre-construction is a different animal. How do you stand out in pre-construction with builders?
So the builders, like if anyone hasn't really done pre-construction before, the biggest thing is standing out is getting, just selling the scraps. When if you can show the builders that you can sell the stuff that nobody wants, they'll always come back to you whenever they have a new launch. And I think getting into the pre-construction game is very tough, especially when you have a lot of the bigger realtors have been around for like 10, 15 years. But I've seen guys that are just fully dedicated with pre-construction within the last, 2-3 years. And now they're the the top VIP, realtors out there, and they're always getting the first releases, and their job's easy now because now they've done that. They've done all the legwork. So, I think for anyone trying to get into the pre-construction side, go to the projects, find out one or two projects that you like, and know them inside out, and just keep at it. Just keep digging, keep, plugging away at these like smaller units, maybe the bigger units. And if you can sell some really big units, the builders are like, oh, who's this guy or who's this girl? Like this is
Right.
This is somebody that I'm going to have to keep an eye on. And you'll be surprised that, you'll get a couple of emails here and saying, hey, you've been selected as our VIP. You get first access on our next launch. And that's the best thing is, never give up.
That's a great attitude to have. Is great advice. And I'm excited to be in business with you. Like you said, you only been in real estate for 5 years. I've been doing this for 30 plus, but you've already really accomplished a lot than most other agents have. So people can really learn from you for sure. So I'm hoping that people will reach out to you and ask you some questions, see if they might be a good fit for your team. And even if you're not Mississauga, EXP's in all 50 states, 9 provinces of Canada, and 22 other countries. And so we can be part of helping you get plugged in no matter where you're at. And I know you speak several different languages, right? So.
Yeah, I got English, French, and Arabic. So if anybody needs help, let me know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's go back real quick. What were you said you were kind of looking for a little bit of a change, maybe kind of outgrowing maybe the brokerage. That was my words, not really yours, but you were kind of looking. What really stood out about the EXP model that had you really, join our team? What were the top, 2 or 3 things?
Well, definitely the coaching, that was huge.
Okay.
Coaching is very expensive in general. I know it's an extra cost for us. And, right now, especially everybody's trying to mitigate their costs and expenses and so on. So that was really nice to have that actually as a feature.
Okay. And at this point, and I'll just elaborate as far as the coaching. I mean, EXP offers 50 to 60 hours of the training a week. Yes. Right. It's more than you can even get to. You just get to pick and choose what is going to be best for you. But I think the other coaching you're talking about is the free coaching from NAEA, the National Association of Expert Advisors, from our business partners, right? Jake Kinder and Michael Reese, who own that real estate coaching company. They normally charge $25,000 a year for. Me, you, and anyone in our group get access to that at no cost because of our business model. Exactly. Not everyone at EXP gets that, but our group gets that because of our partners. That's the coaching you're talking about. And what are the other 2 things that were on top of the list?
The revenue share. I thought that was such a great concept, because we are a cloud-based brokerage, we're not spending money on brick and mortar and all these kind of things that, we do have the luxury of working with each other to grow the business, and we can share that revenue within us. We all have homes to feed and families to feed and so on. And, at the end of the day, we always want to make sure that, we're learning different ways on how to look for extra income. And I think that was really huge. And just the fact that we have a huge network, that was my biggest thing too, is, the network that I, being part of the Honey Badgers and, seeing the amount of, resources that we can contact. Oh, I'm looking for a house in Florida. Okay. I have like 30 agents that I can contact, guys, I have a place in Mexico we're selling. Oh, and it's something that you can't get at any other brokerage, to have that kind of a network. And, knowing that everyone's willing to help, that's huge. I think the old mentality of like the older brokerages was, the big guys are the big guys and the young guys don't really get the help. But with EXP, it's like everyone's, because they know it's going to benefit everyone at the end. It's very cohesive. It's great. It's integrated. I love it. Like it's really nice to have.
And I think in other companies, people are willing to help you, but are they going to, help you on the weekend or 10 o'clock at night when you really need something? Right. But because we're all owners within the company and we're all financially aligned, we're really true business partners. So when we help you sell more properties, help you, on the weekend or whatever it might be, you reach your goals. And of course, the company pays us nicely through the revenue share. Instead of it going to the franchise owners, since we're not a franchise, it comes to us agents. So that's been a big deal for me as well. Now, you mentioned, of course, the company is a cloud based, and they're not having to spend them billions of dollars on the bricks and mortar. So they put that into the revenue share, into the training, and all the technology tools and systems that we get. But I want to make sure the listeners know that even though corporate is online and we have a cloud-based brokerage, and we can go into our EXP cloud office, our metaverse basically, and talk to our brokers and talk to the finance department or anybody that we need to within seconds without getting out in the cold or dealing with the traffic. But agents themselves have their own office. I mean, Rafat's got an office. You can go to that office and meet people if they want to, correct?
Yeah, we share the office. Yeah, we share it now, and it's been great because we obviously clients want to still come and feel like they're part of an office, and
Right.
That's been the best thing is that they come in. We have everything set up. They just it's good. We do that. So
yeah, some people think EXP is it's cloud based. I don't have an office. Where am I going to go? But a lot of agents like yourselves have offices to come to, and people can meet just like any other company. So that's pretty cool. What would you like to just share with the listeners if there's an agent out there, that's only been a few years in the business, or maybe they've been in business for 30 years, but they're either looking for a change, or maybe they're happy where they're at, but they don't know what they don't know, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone now you've been hitting high levels like you have already, and your business is even continuing to grow in the short period of time that you've been partnered with us?
I just don't forget the little habits that you do. Always, I think that's the big thing is that, sometimes we get caught up in daily life and whatnot. And I think the biggest thing is, don't forget the things that got you into this industry and how you got to where you are, because it becomes kind of like the norm. Every day you're doing it. You don't want to be like a robot, but you need to remember to always still take care of your health. Spend time with family, because when you're so immersed into the business, you get burnt out, and then you just don't want to do it, or you might not want to have to do it anymore. And I'm sure everyone's gone through these waves, right? You're like, oh, I'm not really having a great few months. Maybe I got to look at something else. It's just always stick to the basics. Your clients treat everybody as they've never been on a presentation. Take your time with them. Don't assume the business jargon with them. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're all guilty of sometimes, is that we just assume. Keyword is assume. We assume that everybody's they know what we're doing, or they have an idea, or they've probably seen 100 listings on Zoocasa or Zolo or wherever, and it's like, oh, I don't really have to do all the work. It's like, no, you gotta always step up and learn more, so you can educate them better and show them why you're the professional. And I think the more you're intellectually educating yourself and standing out and learning about what's new in the industry, you always seem fresh. And I think that's the key thing, is to always make sure that you're mentally good, you're sound, you're learning. And I think that's the biggest thing for anyone, whether you're in the industry 1 year into the business or 40, 50 years into the business. You always want to stay fresh and stay ahead of the curve. And I know we just did a huge acquisition, I believe, Zoocasa with EXP, and that's really cool. That a lot of people are looking into that now, and it's making waves. I get people all the time. They're like, hey man, like you joined EXP 6 months ago, and now they bought out Zoocasa. I'm like, yeah, like, this is the thing. This is the train. Train's leaving. If you're not coming, you're staying at the station. So
if you're from Canada, you've heard of Zoocasa, and so EXP purchased them. I think the official date was July 1st, is what I heard at the last conference that we were at. So that's a big deal. It's going to be like having our own, like our own Zillow, really, just for our EXP agents, and we're going to be getting those leads from the company. So that's pretty cool. Let me ask you. So you've grown your team to 3 agents now. Did you have any agents at your other company, or were you a solo agent there?
No, I had like just one friend of mine,
person,
and then he ended up wanting to have a change and going to a different brokerage.
Okay.
But I'm working on them now. I'm going to bring them back.
All right. So you had one before. Now you've grown to 3.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself team wise, and where do you see yourself, in either unit or production wise? What's your goal, say, for the next, 2 to 5 years, with what you have at your disposal, with EXP, with the coaching, the training, and the things we talked about?
Our team commission goal for this year is to hit 1 million so far.
Okay.
Yeah, commission goals. Like volume wise, we're already almost at 250. So we're good now, but I mean, like the commission wise, we're definitely growing, even just with a small team. So, these are the things that we're kind of moving forward towards. But, now we're just learning the market shift, and we're seeing how we can adjust our strategy and go from there. We're getting a lot of listings so far. We're getting a lot of buyers that want to work with us. We've revamped our marketing program. We're going to start, now that COVID restrictions are down a little bit here, especially in Ontario, which was a little bit stricter than everywhere else. The team's going to start doing some door knocking and going back to the basics. We're just going to get in front of people, and really start building up a little bit more, so we can start the second half of the year properly and go from there. And and that's what we're looking forward to.
Yep, getting in front of more people. My coach, Coach Michael Burt, says, you don't need more money, you need more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more people that you have conversations with, the more you interact with, the more you help. And that might just be help selling houses, maybe just help in any way that you can. You reap what you sow, like you said earlier.
We're a walking billboard. You got to always be talking about real estate, no matter what you do. The other day, I was getting a bottle of water at a convenience store, and gentleman was wearing like a My Way, which is like our bus company here, and he was kind of like, we kind of did a little hesitation, like, hey, like, you want to go first, me first? I'm like, oh, just go ahead. I'm like, I'm doing showings here, I got time, you got a bus probably waiting. I'm like, just you go ahead. And he's like, oh, you're in real estate? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I'm thinking of selling my condo. So I'm like, here, give me my card. Just like that. Like, I didn't even, like, I just threw it out there. I was like, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that, I always tell anyone I'm with, you're going to spend millions of dollars on marketing if you're not in front of people. But if you can get in front of people and start talking to them and just be real, people miss interaction. We've been, and I think that's a big thing. Humans were meant to converse and chat and, join a sports team if you like soccer or basketball. Like, I play soccer on 3 teams because I meet like 14, 15 people that have the same interest in me. And then we always talk about real estate. Hey, Hassan, how's the market? Oh, call me, and I just, that's how it is. You can go spend money on marketing, but you don't have to. You can, you can just get in front of people, join clubs, join anything, and get yourself out there and grow your network. And then that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, get involved in the community, help the community, and do anything you can for people, and it all comes back around. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, just a couple last questions. In the last, only 7 months that you've been with EXP, what was your biggest aha, or what are you most surprised about that you weren't expecting?
In terms of like,
just in anything general, was there anything that surprised you being an on-cloud company, or like the collaboration, or was there anything that you weren't really expecting because it's a cloud-based company and it's better than you thought? Anything surprised you or no?
Well, like, I always do my research, and I kind of, and speaking with you, I know we even spoke about a year before I even made the move to EXP. So, these were things that I was kind of already familiar with, because we had SkySlope and we had Broker Bay and a lot of the, the similar features at my last brokerage at Cloud. But, the biggest aha moment for me is just the support system. And, I love getting paid immediately. And I thought that was really cool. Like, as soon as my commission's ready and my paperwork's done, the money's in my account. And I was like, this is cool, man.
So you don't have to drive across town and go pick up a check somewhere. It just gets electronically deposited. You like that, huh?
Directly into my account. And I'm like, that's great. Like, I thought that's it. Everyone likes to get paid. That's what we do our work for. And, I keep it real. So it was a nice cool moment to understand how quick the team is. And, if you're missing something, they're emailing you, they're telling you what you need. And it's great. I think having not just one person in deals, you have like 4 or 5. You have 4, like in Ontario, we have 4 managing brokers just for the GTA to choose from, when I had 1 before. So if one's busy, I always have 3 others. And it's just such a nice feeling to know that it's just a bigger monster now. EXP is just awesome. Like it's cool. It's it's definitely changing how things are, and I'm really happy I made the move. So.
Now you said you had heard about it, a year before.
Yep.
Were you doing were you doing due diligence through that whole period, or were you just kind of checking it out?
I was kind of on a verbal agreement with my previous broker that he wanted me to stay for at least another year, and because we had done a bit like a business transaction together.
Sure.
And then after, there was some things, regarding like coaching and so on, that just wasn't fulfilled. And I just kind of said, you know what, I got to look out for number one. And, I loved the concept. I wanted to actually join that day when we first met. I was ready to go. And, I just, sometimes you have to take your time a little bit to see what's right. But I always knew in my heart that this was the right business decision for me to make. And, it was just, that was the right time. God wrote for me to have it a year later, and that's what it is. It is what it is. And, I kind of said, that's my time right now to shine, and let's go at it. So,
well, the exciting thing, we're just getting started.
Exactly.
When I got plugged in 3.5 years ago, I guess, almost 3.5, we only had about 16,000 agents. And I heard last week we had about 83,000 in like 22 countries, I believe. And they expect to be in the next 10 years at 1 million agents in 100 countries. So I can't imagine where the stock's going to be, as we continue to grow. But it's really cool to be an owner. And I'm happy to. I'm just happy to be in business with you. And we're available here to help you at any time. And really appreciate taking the time today to jump on this podcast. Before we drop off, any last things you'd like to mention before we drop off?
I'm just happy to be working with you, man. Like that's a big thing. I can't wait to see you. And the other thing too is, the good thing about EXP is we have some potential trips to do twice a year. So that's not the worst thing to be a part of.
That's right. Yeah, the company has 2 big ones a year. One in Orlando, we just came back from a few weeks ago, and in Las Vegas, EXP Con. So anyone listening and wants to go to EXP Con in Las Vegas, kind of really do some due diligence on the company, give me or Hassan a call, and we'll see about getting you there. And then on top of that, a lot of our bigger leaders within the company are all doing events as well. So we could actually go to an event once a month if we really wanted to. I can't be gone that long. I normally go to usually 5-6 events a year. But yeah, those main events, live events, are just out of this world. I mean, I've been to a lot of events over the years, through being in real estate for so long. But it's a whole different vibe when you're surrounded by 5, 8, 10,000 agents that are all owners of the company. Absolutely. And not just helping the owner, make their legacy. They're actually growing their own, right? So I always leave the podcast by asking you, hey, if you're a reader, what's the favorite book that you love that you would want to share with people? Or if you're a movie watcher, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, all time? Glengarry Glen Ross.
Okay.
I'm a sales guy, so coffee's for closers, and
always,
right. Yeah. So that's my favorite movie. Probably when it comes down to it. And books, there's so many. There's one that I'm actually reading right now, I'm on the audio book. It's Never Split the Difference.
Okay.
That's a really good one. He was I can't remember the name of the guy, but
Never Split the Difference.
Yeah, really good. He used to be an old FBI agent, so he just teaches you how to read the tactics between a negotiation. It's all about negotiation. So he was like a special force, he'd get called in for crazy incidents like bank robberies and how to negotiate with them and so on. And I think I have it right here. Yeah, it's trying to get the name for it here.
I said.
By Chris Voss.
Okay.
It says negotiating as if your life depended on it, and it's phenomenal. Yeah, so you can get it on the Amazon, like Audible. I've been listening to that really well, like recently, and the other one is the Little Red Book of Selling. That's a good one too. So I highly recommend those two.
Okay.
You know,
all right, great. The one I'd recommend, if you haven't read it yet, is The Gap in the Game.
Gap of the Game. No, I haven't.
The Gap, GAP, The Gap, and The Game, GAIN, The Gap in the Game. Phenomenal book. We just read that recently.
By Dan Sullivan.
By Dan Sullivan.
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal book. You want to read that one next.
Well,
I thank you, Hassan, for jumping on our podcast today. Thanks all the listeners to being on the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. We'll see you next week, same time, and we'll see you at one of the next live events, Hassan. And as always, call me if we can help you in any way, partner.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Andre.
All right, you have a good day.
Thank you. Cheers. Take care.